Yeah, no, tell him I'm not interested. No, I'm not interested at all. Yeah. Yeah, I have 10,000 subscribers now. Yeah. Yeah, I just it's just too small for me. Exactly. Yeah. All right, talk to you later. Love you too. Goodbye. Life's good here in the Slightly Delusional Club. What's going on over there? We're having a great day at the Slightly Delusional Club. What is going on over here? Fuck. Oh, God. Chaos has erupted. Just realized your shirt says slut on it? No, it doesn't. Salt Lake, Utah. Get your head out of the gutter. Not gonna lie, thank you guys for 10,000. Not that I thought that I'd have a little bit more juice for it, but I'm ready for the next fucking goal. 10,000. It's been a slow crawl to it. Now I'm ready for the next one. I'm ready for the next one at this point. That's all I have to say. All right, let's just get right into the business. We got a busy stream today. I spent quite a bit of time working on today's PowerPoint stream. It's a PowerPoint stream. I spent quite a bit of time working on the PowerPoint presentation. It's going to be fun, enjoyable. You guys will probably learn something new. I learned some new stuff in the process of creating today's PowerPoint. We're going to be ranking the last 10 NBA postseasons. So, in my research, you really understand how batshit insane the NBA is. Like, it really is. So much shit happens. Live right now for a PowerPoint stream. Ranking the last 10 NBA off seasons. Did I say postseasons? This one will be a barn burner. Get in here. Okay, I'm in off seasons. My bad. But my God, man, there's been some insane. I mean, the player movement in the NBA is crazy. I mean, whenever you go back and look at it, it really is absolutely fucking nuts. I'm watching the Kyrie stream on Twitch. That dude loves to talk so much. Yeah, I saw some clips from the Kyrie stream. I saw him watching Luka highlights. I saw him watching Luka highlights. That means something to me. It's stupid. It's really a nothing. But that does mean something to me. I'm feeling good, guys. I'm locking in. I'm getting into shape for the season. I've fine-tuned my diet. I haven't ate out in like 2 weeks. We're fucking locking in. I haven't drank in like 2 weeks. We're laser focused. Thank you guys. Thank you guys on the congratulations. That video yesterday is going off. I really wasn't like that video yesterday is going off. I don't know why. Anyways, we have Christmas Day games. Opening night is going to be who's opening night? Nuggets and Lakers and Suns Warriors. That's a pretty good opening night. I typically like whenever they have opening night be a team that had like a huge offseason, overhaul. But there haven't really been too many of those teams this year. Like, if Dame does end up getting traded to the Heat or something, that would be a fun team to have on opening night. We're going standing this full stream, by the way. Dirk and D-Wade getting along is adorable, not going to lie. Fuck D-Wade. You see reports that Porzingis is dealing with a foot injury at FIBA? I did see that. Listen, I'm not going to say anything, you know. I warned Celtics fans. I did. I told them because they were all laughing at the Mavericks for bringing back Kyrie Irving. I said, Celtics fans, you know who you guys just traded for? I would be very careful. Very careful. So anyway, here's the Christmas Day games. Is this the order in which the games are being played, or is this just a random order? The Latvia team said he wasn't injured. Yeah, I saw that too. I didn't see like too many solid reporting, so I didn't really care about it. Bucks and Knicks, Sixers and Heat, Celtics and Lakers. That's fun. Mavs and Suns, and Warriors and Nuggets. And this leads me to, I think Mavs and Suns is pretty easily the best rivalry in the Western Conference right now. You could argue, I've seen people say Grizzlies and Warriors, but I feel like with Dylan Brooks leaving, that kind of dampens that rivalry a good amount. But I would have to say that the Suns and Mavericks are pretty comfortably the best rivalry going in the Western Conference right now. And quite possibly in the entirety of the NBA. Because there's real disdain there. Like, there's playoff history, and then there's, like, a real disliking between the two teams. And that's kind of rare. You know? Because you have, like, some of the historic rivalries where you don't really feel it on the floor. That kind of is how, like, baseball rivalries are. Like, the Yankees and Red Sox. Yeah, well, sometimes they don't hate each other. And it's just, like, you know, a pointless rivalry. This is a good slate of games. I've seen some people mad that the Mavericks are here. Every team on this list besides the Mavericks were in the playoffs last year. Listen, here's the reality, man. The Mavericks have two of the most marketable stars in the NBA. Luka, obviously, you know, the international player there. And Kyrie's an incredibly popular player. So, yeah. And this is a very good rivalry. People will tune in to watch this. Mavs-Suns game is going to feel like all-star games. Yeah, no. Luka's going to be in the all-star game. Kyrie's going to be in the all-star game. Josh Green's going to be in the all-star game. And Omax Prosper has an outside chance. So, no, I didn't watch the Kyrie Twitch stream. I saw some clips here and there. Anyways, if you guys haven't liked the stream yet, make sure you do so. It helps me out tremendously, especially early on in the stream's life cycle. It's YouTube know we're having a great time, of which we are. I've been constantly playing pickup at 24 for 2 months now, and yesterday my Curry ankles showed up, and now I'm in a boot. Oof. That's no fun, man. That's no fun. I'm getting back into playing. Getting back into playing shape. Like if you've been out of commission for a while, you have to get in playing shape just to play pickup games. What's Kyrie talking about?
Oh, man. Funny moves in basketball. I just love studying people, man. Come on, bro. Look at this. Come on, D-Power. I love you to death, bro. Come on, bro. You know that's too easy. He's like,
oh, Dwight Powell getting cooked by the Dennis Schroeder signature move.
Dog, look at this. Go! Oh, man. Funny moves in basketball.
I mean, Dennis Schroeder's a shifty player. Dwight Powell on an island against Schroeder? What do you expect to happen? That game was crazy. I didn't watch it. What's going on with Canada? I thought that they were going to be in the mix. Yeah, no Murray's going to hurt, but even then, they were saying that Shea was the best player in the tournament. You guys know I love Shea to death. Pickup game is going to be more enjoyable since the teams go back to school. That is incredibly true. That is so true. Puerto Rico winning it all. Slovenia, USA tomorrow. I might stream that. We'll have to see. I'll gauge my mood on whether or not I want to stream that, but we might. Okay. Is there any other news that I missed out on? Obviously, Derrick Jones Jr. on the Mavericks. I made a video yesterday about it, so I'm not going to talk too much about it. I love it, though. I think it might just be time to get into this PowerPoint. I like this PowerPoint a lot. It's fun. It's a nice trip down memory lane. It's a nice history lesson, too, because I realized in the research for this, I'm not going on fucking Fanspo, dude. In my research leading up for this, I was looking back at the 2015 free agency and the DeAndre Jordan fiasco, and I tweeted out the Paul Pierce tweet where he tweeted out the emoji picture. And I was shocked as to how many Mavs fans in my replies had no clue what that meant. But now I think about it, man, that was 8 years ago. So, like, some people were just too young. Some people weren't fans then, you know. People came over when Luka came over and stuff like that. So this will be a nice trip down memory lane. Did you hear that one of your admins hurt his ankle? I think he's on the DL now. Yeah, he's all right. We're icing it in the back room. We're working on him in the training room. He'll be back out there in no time. I was watching NBA then. I wasn't on Twitter then. Well, this is also funny too to look back on some of these old free agency years and how different Twitter was versus now. Because some of this stuff happening in today's NBA would just be fucking insane with how Twitter is. I was 15. I didn't give a fuck about Twitter. I think I made the first Twitter account I made was honest to God in like 2008. It was super, super early in Twitter, but it was just like a fake account. It might still exist. I never tweeted once on it, but I just wanted to make it to see what it was talking about. Premier League starts back up today. Okay, nice. Do I follow Premier League this year? I'm not going to have enough time. Is the Hall of Fame induction stuff today? They should have a Hall of Fame game like the NFL has. All right. Since there's no other news, I think we dive head first. When I was 15, it was 1990. When I was 15, it was 2010. Getting up there, man. Getting up there. It's a pretty stacked free agent or Hall of Fame class. All right, here we go. You guys ready? Is there anything else? Because once I get going, once I get going, I don't want to get interrupted by 15 different random things. That Dirk has to be the same class as that no class Wade is a real spit in the face. Well, hold on a second. Twitter notification? The Miami Heat are signing former Wake Forest standout guard Alondis Williams. Okay. On that note, we're definitely moving on. Here we go. Slightly biased ranking of the last 10 NBA off seasons, including this offseason. I debated as to whether or not I should include this current offseason just because it's still going on. Just because we still, like, the Damian Lillard news is going to completely shift how we view this offseason. But I said, fuck it. We're going to do it anyways. If Wade hadn't been such a real jerk for a good chunk of his career, I wouldn't hate him. But I hate him. Like, I have a sports hatred for Dwayne Wade, and it's never going away. Okay, hold on. Okay, this is not real. Dude, this is not a real tweet. B dot, you got. B dot, you got. Devin, this is the dumbest beef of all time. Devin Booker fires back at Paul George. Win a ring before talking about me. Bum. It's not real. The Hoop Central. Didn't Hoop Central change to the Dunk Central, or is that another one of them? One of them changed from something Central to Dunk Central. Which one was it? I'm trying to remember. Anyways, it doesn't really matter. I believe it's NBA Central changed. Oh, okay. There we go. Oh, yeah. NBA Central because he had a NBA Centel or whatever. NBA Centel. All right. Slightly biased ranking of the last 10 NBA off seasons, produced by Slightly Biased, written by Slightly Biased, researched by Slightly Biased, directed by Slightly Biased, acted by Ryan Reynolds, actually. I have Ryan Reynolds for this stream. Getting this list started off with the 2020 offseason, which was incredibly boring. I don't know if the COVID angle had anything to do with this, but this offseason was a complete and total snooze fest. Of course, the every NBA offseason is insane. Like, I just need to get that out there. That every single offseason we're going to touch on here, there was a huge trade, a huge free agent signing. Like, something ginormous happens every single NBA offseason without fail. This one was just a little bit more boring. And also, I just want to say, for this list, we're not necessarily looking at how a move played out in hindsight or anything like that. I'm just looking at how crazy was it? How, like, what were the vibes like? How insane was everyone going when this move happened? Like, whoa, what the fuck? Like, that's what I'm mainly looking at here. Okay? And every time before the trade deadline or offseason, people say, I feel like last year's was super boring. Well, no, people also will be like, 1 hour into free agency, oh my God, this is the worst free agency ever. Or 1 hour, or like 3 days before the trade deadline, this is the worst trade deadline of all time. And then something always happens. Big moves. This was the biggest move of the offseason, I think. And it wasn't a player changing teams. It was Giannis Antetokounmpo signing a supermax extension with the Milwaukee Bucks. Now, let me walk you back down memory lane a little bit. Giannis was obviously the 2020 offseason. The Bucks go on to win the NBA Finals the upcoming year. But Giannis was entering the last year of his contract. And every team in the league was gearing up to go after him. It was a fucking arms race. Okay, the Mavericks were doing it. Hilarious, right? Of course they were. The Mavericks were doing it. The Heat were doing it. The Raptors were doing it. The Knicks were doing it. Every team that had the means was gearing up to go after Giannis Antetokounmpo. And he signs December before the season starts. Remember, the NBA season this year started on Christmas Day. Or close to Christmas Day, whenever it was. So the offseason was like in November. It was really fucking weird. Yo, thanks, Sam. I was happy when this happened because I was stubborn and wanted the Mavs to win without being a super team. I was actually, just from a Mavericks perspective, I was happy when this happened too because I knew there was no chance the Mavericks were going to get Giannis. So it was like, okay, now we can shift our focus elsewhere. You know what I mean? The Bucks had a very busy offseason this year. They also went and traded for Drew Holiday. The Drew Holiday trade came first. So that was like the Drew Holiday trade happened. They gave up a ton. Eric Bledsoe, who didn't really pan out for them, George Hill, whatever. But they gave up 3 first-round picks and 2 first-round pick swaps. And in case you're wondering why the Bucks can't make any big moves again, is because they still owe tons of draft picks to the Pelicans. I guess I kind of forgot just how much they gave up for Drew Holiday. But it was absolutely a game changer because, again, they go on to win the NBA Finals the next season, and Giannis signs an extension like a month later. So, obviously, you do it all over again 100 times over. But this was the big move of the offseason, like the big player changing teams. Well, yeah, I think I say so. I think I say so. At the time, this was the biggest move of the season. Jrue Holiday going to the Milwaukee Bucks. But again, at the time, everyone was like, whoa, what the fuck? That's risky. That's risky because Giannis is a free agent. But that wasn't it for the Bucks. This gets forgotten about, but this was a shit show right here. Bogdan Bogdanović was supposed to go to the Milwaukee Bucks. Do you guys remember this? You guys remember this? It was reported by Woj, I think, like before the free agency period was even open. Like before the tampering period was even open, when players sign with teams, right? It was reported that the Bucks and the Kings had agreed to a sign and trade, where Bogdan would go to Milwaukee and Dante DiVincenzo, DJ Wilson, and Ersan Ilyasova would go to Sacramento. And everyone was like, wait, what? How the fuck is this even possible? Like the tampering period hadn't even opened yet. And this was reported. So everyone was like, wait, how is this even possible? Even though technically it is possible that the Kings and the Bucks just agreed to it without telling Bogdan. But obviously that's not what fucking happened. So then the NBA had opened up an investigation of the reported transaction involving Milwaukee and Sacramento that was to send Bogdan Bogdanović to the Bucks via sign and trade after Friday's scheduled start of free agency. The Bucks, this trade fell through, obviously, and Bogdan ended up going to Atlanta. The Bucks lost the pick for this. Like the Bucks pulled out because they got scared. Teams were filing like grievances to the NBA office over this. It was a shit show. This dude was a Buck the same way Lakers fans claim CP3 trade basically happened. They're kind of similar, I guess, where the CP3 trade did happen, but the league vetoed it. This one, like the trade did happen. It was going to happen. Can you imagine that championship Bucks team with Bogdan? Because this was like Dante DiVincenzo had a decently high trade value at this time, but he ended up getting traded for Serge Ibaka, right? Wasn't that what their return was for him? Another big move, Chris Paul gets traded to the Suns. This was coming off of a really good year with the Thunder. The Thunder got a first-round pick in Kelly Oubre, so nothing crazy in return. But obviously the Suns end up making the finals after this offseason. So it was a really big move for them. Gordon Hayward goes to the Hornets. This was a pretty big deal at the time. 4 years, $120 million. He's entering the last year of that deal right now. Indiana was in on this. I remember this. Indiana was like pretty in on Gordon Hayward and almost got him. I think most people thought at the time that Gordon Hayward was like a lock to go to Indiana. And Russell Westbrook gets traded to the Wizards. So a string of off seasons, I think 4 straight off seasons where Russell Westbrook gets traded. Three or 4 off seasons in a row where Russell Westbrook gets traded. He gets traded from the Rockets to the Wizards in exchange for John Wall and a pick. It's interesting that despite all of like the shit Russell Westbrook always gets, going back and looking at these off seasons, he got like every trade that involved him netted a first round pick pretty much for the team that traded him. Interesting stuff. But Russell Westbrook has had some interesting off seasons to say the least. Oh yeah, and this was the start of the James Harden drama, right? They were trying to salvage it. They got John Wall. That was supposed to be a thing. It wasn't. They signed Christian Wood from Detroit. That was supposed to be a thing. It wasn't. They signed DeMarcus Cousins. I think this was right after, I don't remember what team he was playing on before this. But that was the Lakers, wasn't it? In the bubble? What team was he on in the bubble? I don't fucking remember. But either way, this was supposed to be a big deal, and then it wasn't. And that, of course, led to James Harden demanding a trade, wanting out of Houston. These infamous pictures dropped where James Harden, in the middle of COVID, this was 2020. Okay, this wasn't like 2021 where we were just like, oh, whatever. This wasn't 2022 where we were like, oh, yeah, whatever. This was 2020. This was in the middle of COVID. James Harden was out partying, pictures of him partying without a mask. It was a big fucking deal. And of course, this infamous picture happened during the season, but in the first few weeks of the season with James Harden in the fat suit. But all in all things considered, not really a crazy offseason. Some other moves. Jeremy Grant goes to the Detroit Pistons. That was a bit of a shocker at the time. The Hawks made out like bandits this offseason. They got Bogdan and Gallinari. And those additions helped get them to the Eastern Conference Finals the next season. So they benefited greatly from the Bogdan trade falling through because they got in on it. And Al Horford gets traded from the Philadelphia 76ers in a salary dump to the Oklahoma City Thunder. Well, I'm going to talk more about Al Horford on the Sixers whenever we get to that offseason because that was a fucking shit show. What did the Dallas Mavericks do? We're going to do this for every single year. This was we got dogs now. Offseason for the Mavericks. The dogs are on the way. Josh Richardson and James Johnson were the big additions for the Mavericks. I'm not going into the draft here. We already did a draft stream, so we're not going to talk too much about the draft in these. But yeah, this was a bad offseason for the Mavs. They traded it in retrospect. It was a bad offseason. At the time, it was viewed as a good offseason. But they traded Seth Curry for Josh Richardson. Jay Rich only played a year with the team. Wasn't really that great. James Johnson barely played and wasn't very good either. So a pretty lackadaisical offseason for the Dallas Mavericks. But this, by and large, was the worst offseason, I think, pretty comfortably. Next up, we have 2021. Another pretty tame offseason. I remember free agency this year was really bad. It was Kyle Lowry was the marquee free agent. And it was kind of an open secret that he was going to Miami. Although many Mavs fans, myself included, kind of tricked ourselves into thinking he could come to Dallas. But I was out on that train once I saw that he was Jimmy Butler's son's godfather. Or it's the other way around. I don't remember which way it is. Either Jimmy Butler is Kyle Lowry's son's godfather or it's the other way around. Once I saw that, I was like, oh yeah, he's going to Miami. It's over. It's over and done with. They also got PJ Tucker. And they went on to make it to the Eastern Conference Finals this season, losing 7. This was the big Russell Westbrook trade. This was the move of the offseason that everybody was talking about. Russell Westbrook, after a good year with the Wizards, like he was legitimately good with Washington. After a good year with the Wizards, he gets traded to the Lakers. Kyle Kuzma, KCP, Montrezl Harrell, and a first-round pick go to Washington. This was a shit show. This came out of left field. This came way out of left field. It was only hours before this trade. It was reported that the Lakers were trading for Buddy Hield. It was going to be like Kuzma and Montrez to the Kings for Buddy Hield, which would have been a pretty interesting trade, and I like that trade. And instead, they flipped. Depending on who you listen to and depending on what you believe, some people think LeBron himself wanted this to happen. They decide to go with Russell Westbrook, and obviously it is a fucking disaster immediately. Kyle Kuzma blossoms into a really, really good player. KCP just won a ring. Not a player you should really want to give up. This was just the beginning of a hilarious offseason for the Los Angeles Lakers. The Lakers go absolutely crazy. Here's who they all bring in. Okay. I just want to preface this by saying this. The Lakers entered the next season with only 3 returning players on their roster. Towns Horton Tucker, LeBron James, and Anthony Davis. Those were the only 3 players on their 2021-2022 roster that were on the team the year before. They go out and get Kendrick Nunn. This was a big one. Everyone's like, oh, I can't believe the Lakers got Kendrick Nunn. What the fuck is the league doing? Kendrick Nunn never played a game the first season and then only played like 16 games. It was dog shit before he was in the Rui Hachimura trade, this past trade deadline. So, Trevor Ariza, his second time with the Lakers. The picture says it all. Dwight Howard's 3rd time with the Lakers. Kent Bazemore's 2nd time with the Lakers, I believe. A lot of reunions. This was a good one. Malik Monk picked up by the Lakers. He had a very good season and went on to get paid by the Kings. This was a nice pickup. Carmelo Anthony. That's right. Carmelo Anthony found his way onto this team. And Talon Horton-Tucker. They re-signed Talon Horton-Tucker 3 years, $30 million. A lot of people were surprised by it. A lot of people were shocked by it. Hold on. Shams just tweeted. Okay, it's a video. I'm not watching it. It's about the schedule. 3 years, $30 million. And definitely never lived up to that contract at all. And they also brought in Wayne Ellington. This was a hilarious offseason. Like, this was a hilarious offseason, a hilarious team. Literal years taken off my life. The Lakers went on to miss the playoffs. Like, they just straight up did not make the postseason this year. And it was an embarrassment. I was at Choctaw and OKC when Rush Trade went down. I was at this desk. I remember it. I was working on something. And I was just like, what the fuck? LeBron's tweet about Russell Westbrook. Wait, what was it? LeBron James tweet Russell. I'm trying to find it. I said, we need shooters. The shooters in question. I meant about the age of the squad. Oh, yeah, it was something like that. I do remember what you're talking about now. But the Lakers were not the only team that offseason to go crazy in free agency. The Chicago Bulls, out of nowhere, had themselves quite the free agency. The Lakers just let Alex Caruso go. They chose Talon Horton-Tucker over Alex Caruso. The Bulls go and get him 4 years, $37 million. That's a really good contract for Caruso. They also go out and sign DeMar DeRozan. Remember, DeMar DeRozan was hanging around for a long time in free agency. And it was kind of getting to the point where him going to the Lakers for the mid-level was like a real possibility. That's how bad his market was. The Bulls come in, give him 3 years, $85 million, a sign and trade with the Spurs. They give up a first-round pick. I forgot what player was involved. But they also signed and traded for Lonzo Ball, gave up Devontae Graham. They gave Lonzo Ball 4 years, $85 million. And this team was good. Remember, they were the 1 seed in the East for like the first 3 months of the season. Then Lonzo gets hurt and looks like he might never play again. They just dealt with a bunch of injuries and are now the Bulls that we know and love. Love might not be the best word. They turned into a tragedy. That is true. But they were going crazy this offseason. They were going absolutely crazy. Some other moves. Al Horford returns to Boston only 2 years after. Only 2 years after leaving the Oklahoma City Thunder, who shut him down. He only played like 16 games or something like that with the Thunder the year before. The Thunder trade him to Boston. He returns and becomes a really big player for them. We already know that. Steven Adams and Jonas Valanciunas get traded for one another. This was a pretty big deal at the time. Valanciunas was a fan favorite in Memphis. They trade him to New Orleans. Steven Adams comes to Memphis. And this was supposed to be like a weird like salary maneuver trade. But Steven Adams has actually been really really solid for the Grizzlies. And Valanciunas has been really solid for the Pelicans as well. Kawhi Leonard re-signs with the Clippers. Now, I just wanted to throw this in there because at the time, there was some talk. There was some talk and some belief and some questioning like, oh my God, could a team like pry Kawhi away? Did I, as a Mavericks fan, convince myself it was possible? Fuck yeah, I did. Are you kidding me? Hell yeah. Of course I did. Like, duh. Duh. Spencer Dinwiddie, who is probably the second best free agent in this class. It was a very bleak free agent class. Very bleak free agent class. Spencer Dinwiddie signs a 3-year, $62 million deal with the Wizards. And, of course, he doesn't even finish a season with them before getting traded to the Dallas Mavericks. It was a very, very bad free agency addition. Very, very bad contract. Just didn't work out at all. Yes, this was the year Donnie Nelson stepped down. And Evan Fournier, after playing a little bit on the Celtics the year before, signs a 4-year, $78 million contract with the Knicks. A contract that was immediately terrible. Immediately terrible, and now just 2 years later, he can't even get into a game with the Knicks. Just a very, like, look at Tom Thibodeau's face. He knew. I'm not playing this fucking guy. Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ. I'm not playing this guy. What did the Mavericks do this offseason? They signed Reggie Bullock to a 3-year, $30 million contract. A good contract. A contract that immediately paid off because the Mavericks made the Western Conference Finals the following season. And Reggie Bullock was instrumental in that. And they also re-signed Tim Hardaway Jr. immediately. Like this was one of the first or second things that happened when free agency started. And we didn't know. Like, we genuinely did not know. The status of Tim Hardaway Jr. was very much up in the air. And he signed immediately. And according to all reports, took less money to stay with the Dallas Mavericks because the Pelicans were knocking on his door. The Pelicans had a lot of money to spend this offseason, and they were rumored to be involved in everybody. Like, they were a big Kyle Lowry team, and I think all they like walked away with was Devontae Graham, something like that. Donnie Nelson also stepped down. This was a topsy-turvy offseason for the Mavericks. Donnie Nelson stepped down. Rick Carlisle gets let go. Nico Harrison comes into the fold. Jason Kidd comes into the fold. So confused on the rumored Tim Hardaway Jr. and Luka beef. Yeah, I don't know either. I mean, I heard rumblings too, but I hear things. I'm not there. Next up, we have this current offseason. I had this ranked dead last at first, but then I thought about it a little bit more, and I think it's a little bit more juicy than the offseasons we just talked about. How do we feel about that Tim Hardaway Jr. contract in post? I remember loving it at the time, coming off his playoff burst, but I don't know how to feel about this now. I think he's underrated for sure, but I just don't know. I think it's fine. I mean, it's not like a hindrance. Yeah, there was a lot of weird stuff with the Donnie Nelson thing. That's like a full-fledged thing. I don't really want to get into it. Yeah, there's weird allegations with his nephew and stuff. Very strange. Very strange. This current offseason, what's been going on? We'll go quick here because we're living in it. Big moves. So these hilarious trades here. Bradley Beal gets traded to the Phoenix Suns. I mean, Jesus Christ, where do we even start? Bradley Beal demands a trade, has a no trade clause, says he only wants to get traded to Phoenix. Washington obliges. And while the return didn't look great on paper, once more detail came out, and now they own all the pick swaps for the Suns, it's pretty good. But just, Bradley Beal's had a weird offseason, man. And then he had like that quote where he's like, oh man, when I found out the Suns traded for me, I was like, what? They traded Devin Booker? It's like, come on, dude. Come on. I know, like, as a professional athlete, you need to be a little bit delusional, but come on, get serious, please. Please get serious. Jordan Poole gets traded to the Wizards, and Chris Paul gets traded to the Warriors. This is one of those trades where I just know. When doing research for this, there are trades 8, 9, 10 years ago where at the time I remember people being like, oh, but in retrospect, it's like, we had to know that was going to be a fucking disaster. This is how I feel about these. Like, Chris Paul, this just looks hilarious. This just looks funny. Jordan Poole in Washington actually probably makes the most sense here. I just feel like this is a trade we're going to look back on and laugh in the coming years. Just for a bunch of different reasons. This is a ball sack sport image. Other big moves, Kristaps Porzingis gets traded to the Boston Celtics and then signs an extension with them. And Marcus Smart, who spent his whole career with Boston, in some ways, in some weird, strange ways, the heart of the franchise, gets traded to Memphis. So Memphis now has Marcus Smart. This is going to look weird. And Kristaps Porzingis is on the Celtics. This was a weird, funky offseason. Now that I think about it. Now that we've had some time to let it simmer, it's a bit strange. I'm a little bit... I don't know about KP in Boston. What up, CJ? Smart to Memphis is going to be good. I have a gut feeling. We'll see. Warriors get off Paul's contract in a year and Poole was fucking terrible and literally threw the whole season. Oh, yeah. I mean, I get it. I get it for Golden State's point of view. But it's still a funny trade. Obviously, if you're the Suns, you do that trade 10 times out of 10. Some big free agent re-signings. Kyrie, like that one was, I was very, very confident Kyrie was going to stay with Dallas, but it was up in the air. And Draymond, I was also confident Draymond was going to stay with Golden State, but there was some stuff tossed out. I don't think it was ever legitimate. But those are also some pretty big re-signings. KP going to be healthy in the playoffs? What do you think? Some big contracts given out this summer. Bruce Brown gets over $20 million. Jeremy Grant, over $30 million. $30 million for the next 5 years. Eesh. Wait, was it 5 years or 4? Wasn't it 5? Yeah, 5 years, $160 million. Holy fuck, that's so much money. And of course, the Houston Rockets going absolutely batshit insane, giving Fred VanVleet $40 million plus, Dylan Brooks $20 million plus. If Dame gets traded, does this change the ranking? Yeah, a little bit, but I've already factored in that. Remember, this is just like how crazy it was. LeBron's infamous "maybe it's me" tweet, that was from the trade deadline. But yes, that is infamously hilarious. Big trade demands. James Harden opts into his contract. Oh, fuck. His option with the Sixers and demands a trade to the Clippers. And this brings us into another key character of this offseason, which is Dropping Dimes 20, who had everybody on NBA Twitter in an absolute stranglehold during the first few days of free agency. And he was right about pretty much everything, wasn't he? No, there was some stuff he got wrong. Not necessarily wrong, but he said like Cat would get traded. And that hasn't happened yet. That dude's a fucking fraud now. And I mean, he was right about a lot of stuff. The Dropping Dimes 20 era was hilarious. And then, of course, we have the Damian Lillard trade saga, which has just reached points of being incredibly annoying now. But it still needs to be talked about. And if this situation does play itself out this offseason and Dame gets traded to Miami, that's a pretty big deal. Then he started going all high school scouts on us. We do not give a fuck. That's what's actually hilarious about that account is that's what he was the whole time. I didn't follow him or know of him, but that's what people are saying. Like, if you go back and look at his old tweets too, like he was always just like a high school scout. High school scout, college scout, like just scouting players. And then randomly was like, hey, I have all the inside information. We'll see what happens here. The Damian Lillard stuff here. We have a timeline. We have a timeline. I love these timelines. Hold on, I need to turn ads off. Look at all these fucking ads. How many? 34. March 21st, Damian Lillard addresses the media for the last time of the season and is asked about the Trailblazers' apparent plans to rebuild through the draft. He says, that's not what I'm interested in. That's the frustrating part of it is talking about what's going to happen next season and us building. That's not what I'm here to do, especially at this stage of my career. All right, getting a little bit spicy. Lillard, when asked about cities he preferred to play in, tells Brian Custer of the Last Stand podcast, Miami's the obvious one, and Bam is my dog. So, like, this was fucking so funny because this happened, and this is a crazy thing to say in an interview. Like, I know that they asked him the question, but just being like, yeah, Miami's the obvious one. If I were to get traded, I don't want to get traded, but God, if I were to get traded, please, God, trade me to Miami. Like, that's a weird thing to do. I'm sorry. June 20th reports that the Blazers are unlikely to trade the number 3 pick unless they get one of a select number of premium targets to pair with Lillard. I mean, the Blazers played this all so correct. The Blazers just did a great job. Jeremy Grant signs a 5-year, $160 million contract. The next day, Damian Lillard requests his trade. And that's where we are. And now we've been waiting for well over a month. And we will continue to wait. What did the Dallas Mavericks do this offseason? Well, it was busy. I literally just talked about it yesterday, so I'm not going to dive too deep into it right now. But it was busy. They did great. One of the best offseasons, if not maybe the best offseason, just at the time, right? Just in terms of process in the Luka era. Phenomenal stuff. Obviously, we're not talking about the draft right now, but, you know, Dante Exum, we'll see. Sean Holmes, that was a draft night trade. But Seth Curry, Grant Williams, Derrick Jones Jr., bringing back Kyrie Irving, bringing back Dwight Powell. It's a great offseason for Dallas. Next up, here we go. Get your fucking popcorn. The 2015, who's the sleeper out of that group of guys? Probably Rashawn Holmes. The 2015 free agency, 2015 offseason, which wasn't that crazy in terms of player movement, but there is one. There's a reason why it lives in infamy. Big moves. LaMarcus Aldridge going to the Spurs. This was the move of the offseason, the biggest free agent available. And he had like a full-fledged, we don't see this anymore. This is a bygone era. The free agents, I'll talk about this later, but Kawhi was pretty much the last one. The last like mega star player to leave in free agency for nothing. To like have a free agency and to go and accept meetings and to go talk to people and then you go, you know, sign with the team. That doesn't happen anymore. Now it's pre-free agency when guys get traded or opt into their contract and then get traded. We don't have like the free agency thing play out like it used to. Because LaMarcus Aldridge, you know, he was taking meetings. The Suns almost got him, I remember. The Celtics were making a play for him too. What other teams? Dallas, I know, was interested. And I remember the Lakers wanted to meet with him. And he didn't accept the meeting, and that was a big fucking deal. Because it was like, oh my God, the Lakers. This was around the time where it's like the Lakers cannot attract anybody anymore. Like it's over for them. They are no longer a destination. But LaMarcus Aldridge was great for the Spurs. 4 years, $84 million. 3-time All-Star with the Spurs. Finished 9th in MVP voting in 2018. And a 2-time All-NBA player with San Antonio. So this was a great signing for them. He was the Tim Duncan. Like, he was signed to replace Tim Duncan. I think Tim Duncan only played one more season after this. And the Mavericks went after him. But, fortunately, it wasn't enough. Other big moves. Nicholas Batum gets traded to Charlotte. That was a big deal. The Blazers got fucked this offseason. They lost 4 of their 5 starters from the year before. And Greg Monroe. How about that blast from the past? Greg Monroe signs with the Bucks. This was a big deal at the time because Greg Monroe was like a big free agent. And he went to Milwaukee, who like wasn't good. Like they weren't even good at this time. And that was like a big deal. Like a huge win for Milwaukee. Three years, $51 million. Oh, Cooper Flagg's reclassifying. Nice. So big moves. These are the big moves. It was a kind of lackluster free agency. The Cavs spent a bunch of money. This was going into year 2 of LeBron's return. They give Iman Shumpert 4 years, $40 million. Kevin Love, they give him a huge 5-year, $113 million contract, which was massive at that time. J.R. Smith re-signs. Tristan Thompson gets 5 years, $82 million, which was a lot of money at that time. Of course. This happened. The Clippers go out and get Paul Pierce, Josh Smith, Lance Stevenson. It didn't work out. But the DeAndre Jordan saga happens. The DeAndre Jordan saga happens. It was announced very early in the free agency that DeAndre Jordan, who is from Dallas, Texas, was on the verge of accepting a 4-year, $80 million max offer with the Mavericks, and this was huge. I mean, this was the biggest free agent signing in the history of the franchise. You guys need to understand this, right? I know in hindsight, it wouldn't have worked. In hindsight, it would have been a bad deal. In hindsight, DeAndre Jordan wouldn't have really had the impact that we were paying him to because he kind of just fell off very shortly after this. But this was a big deal. This was a big deal. He averaged 15 rebounds a game the season before. Like, this was huge. And, of course, I remember this exactly. I remember this perfectly. I remember there was starting to become a little sense of uneasiness among the fan base because this was announced. The Mavericks were going to sign him. Woohoo, we're all happy. But nothing else was said. Like, DeAndre Jordan never said anything. He never tweeted anything. This was somebody who was, like, pretty active on social media, too. Never said anything. Never tweeted anything. And we were starting to wonder, like, what the fuck's going on? Like, DeAndre Jordan's going to be on the team, right? The team hadn't really said anything. Well, then the emojis start flying. Chandler Parsons tweets out, this is when Chandler Parsons was on the Mavericks. Chandler Parsons tweets out an emoji of him on an airplane. JJ Redick, who was on the Clippers at the time, tweets out a car emoji. Things start going downhill. Blake Griffin tweets out a plane, helicopter, car emoji. Things are fucked. Chris Paul tweets out banana boat. We'll talk about that here in a second. Paul Pierce, who again signed with the Clippers this offseason, tweets out a picture of the rocket emoji. It was at this time that it was pretty much understood that DeAndre Jordan was not going to become a member of the Dallas Mavericks after all. And not only did it get ripped away from us, but it got ripped away from us in the most embarrassing way imaginable. Paul Pierce is tweeting pictures of emojis. This was a fiasco. This was legitimately a major low point in the history of the franchise. I'm not kidding. A major low point. Then it comes out, Mark Stein in a story with Ramona Shelburne. We also report Mavs now fear they won't get audience with Jordan as Clips have essentially surrounded him. So not only are the emojis flying, they are literally barricading themselves in DeAndre Jordan's home in Houston. The Clippers team is barricading themselves. Woj, so far, Clippers able to keep listen to this fucking tweet. This is from Adrian Wojnarowski. So far, Clippers able to keep everyone else out of house, including Cuban agents, everyone. They're in 4 corners until midnight Eastern. So this was July 8th. At midnight, July 9th, free agents were able to officially sign. Like the tampering period was over. You could officially sign. They were barricaded in his house. Blake Griffin was there. Doc Rivers was there, I'm pretty sure. I forgot who all was there. I'm told that DeAndre Jordan won't even take a phone call from Mark Cuban or Chandler Parsons. This was devastating. Those of you who are too young or weren't fans of the franchise at this time, this was pathetic. Like, this was hard to get up from. This was a tough one because we all kind of knew that Dirk was out of, his prime. I don't know if he obviously made the All-Star game his last season, but I don't know how many All-Star games he made after this. Like, he was out of it. He wasn't carrying your team anymore. So this was like, we were really trying to maximize the roster to give him one last, decent chance. We knew we didn't really have a chance, but one last like decent shot at it. And this was just, yeah. And by reports, these came out later, but by reports, Chandler Parsons was around this time the GM of the fucking team. Then Blake Griffin tweets this. Like imagine this. Like just imagine this, man. You signed the biggest free agent in your franchise's history. We're all, yeah, it's a huge celebration. Then it's like starting to look like, oh my God, it's not going to happen for whatever reason. Not only does that happen, you get embarrassed publicly. Blake Griffin, don't agree with the furniture layout, but I'm no interior designer of a chair blocking the doorknob. Oh, and then we have this. Let's not forget this moment. Let us not forget this moment. Chris Broussard. Sources. Cuban is beside himself, driving around downtown Dallas begging, through texts, Jordan's family for an address to DeAndre's home. This was tough, man. This was tough. But of course, Cuban clapped back. Cuban clapped back the next morning. That is the dumbest shit I've ever heard. If you had any ethics, you would message me and I'll give you his address. So I think this came out to not be true. But it was just still it was just the icing on the fucking shit cake. Yeah, you guys need to remember. Because it's, you have Woj now, you have Shams, you have, Mark Stein. Mark Stein was around at this time. But this was around the time, like, Chris Broussard was the guy almost. He was, like, probably the most well-known NBA insider, or at least one of them. And this honest to God did irreparable damage to his credibility, I think. But this was just such a shit show. Such a shit show. And it hurt. It's just like... It's just like everything that could have possibly gone wrong, that could have possibly went wrong. Oh, yeah, and then he had the banana boat. This was also the same offseason. The banana boat picture, infamously. Gabby Union, Dwayne Wade, Chris Paul, and LeBron James on the banana boat. How could we forget about this classic? What did the Mavs do after the DeAndre Jordan saga? They signed Wesley Matthews. They already had Wesley Matthews. It was going to be Wesley Matthews and DeAndre Jordan. That was going to be a pretty big, that was going to be a nice get. That's going to be a nice haul. They gave Wesley Matthews 4 years, $70 million, which was a big deal. It was risky because Wesley Matthews was coming off of an Achilles injury and was never the same. Like, he was not worth this money for the Mavericks. Wasn't horrible or anything like that, but definitely not worth the contract. And after DeAndre Jordan pulled out, the Mavericks actually turned back around to Wesley Matthews and gave him more money. So... just out of the kindness of their hearts, I guess. It was it was tough. It was a rough off. It was hard to get up after that one. That knocked you down. It was hard to stand back up. Next, we have the 2018 offseason. An offseason headlined by, in my opinion, the greatest player of all time, taking his talents to Los Angeles. This was the offseason LeBron James went to the Lakers, which we're going to talk about the 2014 offseason here in a bit, where LeBron went to Cleveland. That one was shocking. Like, that one came out of nowhere. Everyone was in disbelief. This one was different. Like, it was kind of an open secret LeBron was going to LA. Everything was sort of pointing in that direction. And when it happened, it wasn't like some earth-shattering news. It was like, okay, yeah, we all kind of expected it. But still, insane that LeBron James, the peak of his powers, this was great LeBron, went to the Lakers. It was kind of watered down by the fact that the Lakers sucked. Like, they didn't do anything else this offseason. Paul George was a free agent. They wanted to go get him. We'll talk about him here in a bit. But, like, this was kind of watered down by the fact that their team was terrible. Kawhi Leonard gets traded to the Toronto Raptors. This was a big deal, too. And I want to refresh you guys a little bit. Give you guys a little refresher course in how fucking insane this whole saga was. I'm not going to read through all of this. But the Kawhi Leonard wanting out of San Antonio saga was nuts. And it happened like a little bit before the real peak of like NBA Twitter. Otherwise, this would have been crazy. So May 14th, 2017, Kawhi injures his ankle in the Western Conference Finals when Zaza Pachulia, dirtiest player ever, my least favorite Mavericks player of all time while he was on the team, slid his leg underneath him while he was taking a jump shot, and Kawhi missed the rest of the playoffs. And that was KD's first year, right? KD's first year with the Warriors. The Spurs were up by like 30 points in that game. New injury issue arose. San Antonio announced that Leonard had a right quadriceps injury and would miss the entire preseason. Little did we know, Kawhi Leonard barely had any games left as a member of the San Antonio Spurs. All of these things. Leonard came back December 12th. Played 16 minutes. January 13th, 2018. Unbeknownst to anyone at the time, Leonard played perhaps his last game ever as a San Antonio Spur. 4 days later, San Antonio put out a statement announcing the star would be out indefinitely. And keep in mind, like, the Spurs didn't know what was happening. Like, they like didn't know. Then a rift was growing. Pop sent some shots at Kawhi. Yeah, this was it right here. Popovich took a not so subtle jab at Leonard when he was asked if the team would see Leonard on the sidelines as a spectator for the playoffs. You'll have to ask Kawhi and his group that question. Not only was Kawhi not playing, he wasn't even with the team. Like, he was not traveling with them. He was not on the sidelines. Kawhi ran his way out of San Antonio in kind of a disgusting way. Danny Green was also involved in the trade. And, of course, the Toronto Raptors went on to win. I almost said the World Series. They went on to win the NBA Finals right after this. Another big move. Paul George re-signs with the Thunder. This was huge. This was fucking huge. The Thunder traded for Paul George the year before. He was an impending free agent. Everybody just assumed he was going to the Lakers. Like, everyone just assumed with 1,000% certainty that he was going to sign with the Lakers in free agency. And not only did he not do that, but he re-signed in Oklahoma City. This was a huge deal at the time. Like, a huge deal. A massive win for small market teams. Of course, they trade him a year later. But still. Other big move, DeMarcus Cousins, coming off an Achilles injury with the Pelicans, goes to Golden State. Now, this didn't really amount to anything because he was injured, got hurt again in the playoffs. The Warriors lost in the finals, obviously, and then blew it all up afterwards. Or didn't blow it all up, but the team as we knew them were done. KD left. Boogie left. I want to remind you guys of the reaction when this went down. Because this was like earth-shattering stuff. People were like, dude, fuck the NBA. Like, the NBA is done and ruined. It was supposed to be a starting five of Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Kevin Durant, Draymond Green, and DeMarcus Cousins. Larry Nance tweeted this out. Joel Embiid, let's pull a DeAndre Jordan. Just trust it. Fuck you, Joel. Jeremy Lin, wow, crazy. Andrew Bogut, free and she's living up to the hype. Nick Young, wow. Jay Crowder, what are we doing here, guys? Not reading that Kevin O'Connor tweet. Do they have like any... My brother just texted me saying he thinks he's going to boycott the NBA. If the only reason you watch basketball is to see who wins the championship, then you're missing like 90% of the best stuff. That's kind of true. NBA, I'm officially done with you. It's been a good ride. NBA owners might lock us out now. This was crazy. I think God would have stopped that Golden State Warriors team if Boogie was in his prime. Oh, yeah. But ended up not really working out. But still, I mean, that was a monumental signing at the time. And everyone thought it was over. The Jimmy Butler drama begins. Now, Jimmy Butler was not traded during this offseason. He was traded into a few games into the 2018-2019 season from the Timberwolves to the Sixers. But the drama did start. And what drama it was. This was insane. This whole saga was absolutely crazy. And it gets brought up a lot, but I feel like it actually weirdly kind of gets forgotten about. Because this was fucking nuts. Jimmy Butler rips into Wolves front office teammates during practice. Jimmy Butler was on the team and was just openly like, yo, I want out. Fuck you. I hate you. He was doing interviews while on the team saying, no, we can't fix this. It was insane. All-Star guard Jimmy Butler made a dramatic return to Minnesota Timberwolves on Wednesday, boldly challenging teammates, coaches, and front office executives in the practice session. Butler was vociferous, come on, Woj, and intense throughout the scrimmages, targeting president of basketball operations and coach Tom Thibodeau, general manager Scott Layden, and teammates including Karl Anthony Towns and Andrew Wiggins, league sources says. As the GM watched on the sidelines during a scrimmage, sources said that Butler yelled to Layden, "You fucking need me, Scott. You can't win without me." A lot of it is true. He said, I haven't played basketball in so long. I'm so passionate. I don't do it for any reason but to compete. All my emotion came out in one time. Was it the right way? No. But I can't control that when I'm out here there competing. That's raw me. Me at my finest. Me at my purest inside the lines. It's not fixed, Butler told Nichols. Let's be honest. Asked if it could be fixed, he said, it could be. Do I think so? No. This was nuts. Which drama, Butler in Minnesota or Butler and Nichols? This was crazy. This was a crazy, crazy time. Some other moves. Tony Parker goes to the Hornets. This is one of those pictures that'll get brought up like 20 years from now. Like, remember when Tony Parker played for the Hornets? Julius Randle, leaving LA after the Lakers went and got LeBron James, goes to New Orleans, is only there a year, but rebuilds his value significantly. And then goes on to sign with the Knicks the next offseason. He was really good with the Pelicans. Dwight Howard's on the move. You're going to see in a lot of the upcoming offseasons. Dwight Howard is a man on the move. He goes to the Wizards, where he says he would like this to be his last stop. It wasn't. What did the Mavs do this offseason? Well, of course, 2018 is when they drafted Luka Doncic. But they finally got their guy. Yeah! Woo! DeAndre Jordan. DeAndre Jordan finally becomes a member of the Dallas Mavericks, and he plays there for 3 months before getting traded. So there we go. Mavericks always get their guy. The Mavericks always get their guy. Obviously an amazing offseason, though, for the Mavericks getting Clint Capella when he's a Mav at 43. Yes, that's very true. That will happen. They get Luka and Jalen Brunson. At number 5, the 2022 free agency. The more I looked into this, the more I realized, man, last year was fucking crazy. Like, last year was nuts. The big moves, obviously, the 2 Utah Jazz stars getting traded just for, like, historic draft hauls. How good was DJ the year before he signed with Dallas? He was very clearly on the decline. Like, it was very clear that he was, like, not who he was in the past. But he was still good, though. He averaged 15 rebounds a game the year before. But his impact wasn't as significant as it once was. And the NBA was already shifting at that point a little bit, where DeAndre Jordan's skills were a lot less valuable. Anyways, Donovan Mitchell gets traded to the Cleveland Cavaliers. Lauri Markkanen, Ochai Agbaji, Colin Sexton, 3 unprotected firsts and 2 pick swaps go to Cleveland. Markkanen, of course, goes on to win Most Improved Player. Pretty great move for both sides, honest to God. And Rudy Gobert gets traded to the Minnesota Timberwolves for the most shocking package maybe ever. Like, I remember I had bibs on, and we were talking about maybe going after Rudy Gobert, and I said I would do it for a first. And that was controversial. For one singular first-round pick. He goes for Malik Beasley, Patrick Beverley, Jared Vanderbilt, Leandro Balmari, Walker Kessler, 3 unprotected firsts, and 3 pick swaps. I think it's Balmaro, right? I had a typo. Like, what? How does... Like, oh my goodness. Just an unbelievable draft haul. An unbelievable haul. Unbelievable. Luka's the reason these trades happen. That's true. The Mavericks did pretty much put a nail in the Utah Jazz franchise in their coffin. Walker Kessler goes on to have an amazing rookie season. What did he finish? 3rd in Rookie of the Year voting. Their first draft with all these picks, they leave with Bryce Sensabaugh, Keontae George, Taylor Hendricks. Pretty damn good. And Gobert goes on to have a decent season. Like, he wasn't terrible for the Timberwolves. Donovan Mitchell goes on to be second team All-NBA. He has a great season. Has a 70-point game. Not great in the playoffs. But my God. Jesus. We knew they were going to get traded. Like, that kind of sucks some of the fun out. Because whenever we get to, like, the real elite top 3 off seasons, moves that nobody saw coming. Like, that's what we're talking about here. Like, we knew Gobert was going to get traded. We didn't know it was going to be for that haul. We figured Donovan Mitchell would get traded. We figured it would be for that haul. But the Cavs trading for him was actually pretty shocking. DeJounte Murray also gets traded this offseason to the Atlanta Hawks, obviously. 4 picks involved in that trade. Malcolm Brogdon gets traded to the Celtics, goes on to win 6th Man of the Year. The DeJounte trade was pretty crazy. Some more big moves. Jalen Brunson signs a contract with the New York Knicks. He goes on to have an amazing season. And finishes, 2nd in Most Improved Player voting? Of course, we have the Brooklyn Nets drama. This one was, it was, Kyrie requested trade, whatever. Everyone was like, yeah, whatever. Kyrie, duh. Remember, Kyrie had a player option this year. So there was a lot of talks that he was going to decline the player option, that he was going to go play for the mid-level in Los Angeles, or he was going to go play for the minimum. He ends up just opting in. And then, I remember exactly where I was when it came out. It was only a year ago. But I remember exactly where I was when it came out that Kevin Durant was requesting a trade. That was a shocking moment. That was a shocking moment. Wait, Luke is playing basketball today? Wait, they have a back-to-back with USA? Oh, I didn't even know that. This was shocking. Then you have the DeAndre Ayton drama. And right now, all right, well, I'll power through this, and then I'll go watch. DeAndre Ayton reportedly hates the Phoenix Suns, wants out. Signs a offer sheet with the Pacers, seems happy. And the Suns match immediately. Wait, hold on. I want to go back to this, actually, because I feel like I didn't touch on it enough. Like, this was a crazy time. Kyrie dropped the list of teams the Mavericks were on it. That was nice. Obviously, he ends up being a Maverick, but I don't know why I said like that was so weird. Like, he's currently a member of the fucking team. But this was shocking stuff when KD requested a trade. It looked like the Celtics were going to get him at one point. Crazy times. Some other moves. The Nuggets, I mean, these weren't gigantic moves by any stretch of the imagination, but it helped them win the NBA Finals. They trade Monte Morris and Will Barton for KCP. They signed Bruce Brown. The Pistons, really nice trade on their end. Go out and get Boyan from the Jazz. PJ Tucker signs with the Sixers. Jeremy Grant gets traded to the Trailblazers. Daniel House, the only reason I include him here was because the Sixers got in trouble for tampering with Daniel House and had to give up a pick for Daniel House. And the Kings go out and get Malik Monk, who had a really good season with LA, and they trade for Kevin Huerter. That was a big deal. The Zion, KD, Kyrie, Knicks jersey swap was legendary. Yes, that was. We're going to get to that offseason here in a bit. Other moves, Bradley Beal signs the Supermax extension that led to where we are now. I think the biggest contract of all time at the time. We talked about the Bogdanovich tampering earlier in the stream. Just an insane contract with it. No trade clause. Like, everything about this contract was disgusting. The moment ink hit paper. What did the Mavs do this offseason? They traded a first-round pick for Christian Wood. Obviously, didn't really pan out. And they signed JaVale McGee. Didn't really pan out either. So, a disappointing offseason for the Mavericks. Coming off of a Western Conference Finals appearance. They tried to shore up the center position. I felt good about it at the time. I must admit. JaVale McGee plays 7 games and then pretty much doesn't play again for the Mavericks. Only minutes here and there. Christian Wood is in the doghouse the whole year and will no longer be a member of the team. So, and the Mavericks missed the play-in tournament entirely. So, just an embarrassment. Next up, all right, now we get to the real juicy ones. Now we get to the juicy ones. 2017, which was nuts. This offseason was crazy looking back on it. Kyrie Irving gets traded to the Boston Celtics, and the Boston Celtics also signed Gordon Hayward. This was like the Celtics were going to be an unbeatable juggernaut. This is what it felt like after this trade went down, after all this stuff went down. I love looking at these timeline articles. July 9th through 15th, at some point this week, Irving reportedly asked the Cavaliers front office for a trade. On Friday afternoon listen, people give Kyrie shit for this. I want to say, the writing was very clearly on the wall that LeBron was leaving. Apparently, it's impossible to find a link for the Slovenian game. Like, the writing was very much on the wall that LeBron James was done and Kyrie just wanted out first. On a Friday afternoon, when the NBA offseason is supposed to be quieting down for good, the news breaks. ESPN Brian Windhorst has the details, and the NBA world is thrown into chaos. Minnesota, San Antonio, New York, and Miami are reportedly on Irving's short list. Later that evening, the Cavaliers officially hire assistant general manager Kobe Altman as the team's new general manager. Altman had been running Cleveland's front office since David Griffin stepped down days before his contract was set to expire in late June. So this was part of the stuff that got the wheels turning on LeBron leaving too. There are 2 teams that can give the Cavaliers what they want for Irving. Kristen Winfield writes for SB Nation in an article detailing how much attention Irving has received from around the league. One of them is the Celtics. So this was weird too. This trade was weird. So August 22nd, we're like over 2 months since the trade request. News on Boston-Cleveland trade breaks, quickly escalating from talks to an agreed-upon deal. Irving is headed to the Celtics, while the Cavaliers are getting Thomas J. Crowder, Zizic, and a first-round pick. Apparently the Milwaukee Bucks were close. Okay, I don't know what that trade would have looked like. Oh, the package would have been Chris Middleton, Malcolm Brogdon, and a first-round pick. Ooh! Wait, what? Oh, the course of NBA history would have been much different if that trade gets accepted. Then 3 days later, drama! On Saturday, 5 days after the NBA world had wrapped its head around Irving being traded to the Celtics, it was reported that the Cavaliers were mulling over after receiving Thomas's physical. Later that day, it was reported that they would seek further compensation for the trade, unhappy with Thomas's health after suffering a hip injury last playoffs. Of course, that hip injury would pretty much end his career, unfortunately. Standoff continued. Cleveland was reportedly going to ask for Jaylen Brown or Jason Tatum, then thought better of it. So this was like up in the air for a tiny bit, but he does end up obviously going to the Celtics. It doesn't work out, obviously, for many different reasons. Gordon Hayward. So both of these moves were shitfests. Like the Gordon Hayward free agency. I forgot all about this. And then when I read up on it, I remembered. This was a shit show too. This was also a gigantic shit show. So July 4th, pretty shortly after free agency opens, Chris Haynes first tweets that Hayward's intention is to sign with the Celtics. It's a big deal. Gordon Hayward was like a really good player at this time. This was before that catastrophic injury. Can confirm Gordon Hayward intends to sign with the Boston Celtics. All right, everyone's saying it. Yep, he's gonna sign with the Celtics. Then, hold on a second. A couple hours later, Woj. Utah Jazz are still waiting to be told of Gordon Hayward's intentions. What? Ricky Rubio, who just got traded there. Then a Yahoo reporter. Sources confirm Gordon Hayward has not made a decision. The report saying he is headed to the Celtics, at least as of right now, is untrue. What? Then David Aldridge comes in. Okay, strap in. Told by a source but with knowledge of the process that Gordon Hayward has not made a decision yet and is still in the process. Huh? Woj. Gordon Hayward's agent, Mark Bartelstein, tells ESPN Gordon hasn't made a decision yet. We are still working through it. Hold the phone. Text from Celtics exec. We haven't heard anything yet. Insane. Steve Starks, Utah Jazz president. We trust Gordon and his agent that no decision has been made. Good communication all day and a great relationship. What? The Heat were involved in this too? Eric Walden. The Jazz will remain in contact tonight with the Hayward camp, I'm told, but are giving space to let Hayward be himself. Then, only an hour after this, Gordon Hayward. This all happened on the same day. Gordon Hayward drops a Player Tribune article that he is leaving Utah to go to Boston. Now, the conspiracy theories on this are that the reason why this was so weird. The reason why this was so weird is that Gordon Hayward wasn't finished writing his Player Tribune article. That's like the accepted theory, which is pretty hilarious for a lot of different reasons. That was only move number 1 in this offseason. Paul George gets traded to the Oklahoma City Thunder. This was a big, whoa, what the fuck moment. The Thunder were going for it. This is a year after Kevin Durant leaves. They want to be good still. Paul George is pretty much saying, I want to go to LA. I want to be on the Lakers. If you trade for me, I'm going to the Lakers. I can't find a link for Spain, Sylvania. I'm finishing this. I don't really care that much. The trade is Victor Oladipo and Domantas Sabonis. Oladipo becomes a 2-time All-Star, makes an All-NBA team once for the Pacers. Paul George, is amazing with the Thunder. He finishes top 3 in MVP voting. This was just an insane move, an insane trade. PG resigning was more odd and shocking. Yeah, we went over that a little bit ago too. That was very shocking. Other big moves, Jimmy Butler gets traded to the Timberwolves. Like, this was a bad shit, insane free agents or offseason. Zach LaVine, Lauri Markkanen, and Chris Dunn go to Chicago, which is a pretty nice get for them for 1 year of Jimmy Butler, honestly. The Timberwolves go for it. They make the playoffs. But, of course, we already talked about the drama that ensued the following year. But this was a crazy move. And the Bulls were laughed at. The Bulls were laughed at, and deservingly so. Everyone respected this move for the Timberwolves. The Bulls were laughed at. Chris Paul gets traded to the Rockets. So Chris Paul's long career with the Clippers ends. He gets traded to the Rockets. I forgot what this trade was. It was like fucking Sam Decker. Montrezl Harrell was in the trade. I forgot who else was. But an insane move. The Rockets go for it. Chris Paul alongside James Harden. That's like the fourth biggest move that happened this offseason. Tons of crazy shit went down. Trouble in Cleveland. We already sort of mentioned this. David Griffin leaves. Isaiah Thomas is on the team and is terrible and is traded halfway through the season to the Lakers. Derrick Rose is on the team. He quits. Like, he quits the team. Dwayne Wade starts the year on the team. You remember this fucking Cavs team? None of these guys are on the team post the trade deadline. That Rockets team was a bad hamstring from knocking off the Warriors going to the finals. Yeah, that's very true. This was like, it was very clear the writing was on the wall that LeBron was out of there. Other moves, D'Angelo Russell gets traded to the Brooklyn Nets. He goes on to make an all-star team for them. Paul Millsap signs with the Nuggets. This was a really big deal. Yeah, Timothy Mozgov. We're going to talk about him here in a bit. This was a pretty big deal because sort of similar to the Bucks, this was probably the biggest free agent signing in the history of the Nuggets franchise. It's up there at least. All right, I have the game up on the side. Dwight Howard! Oh! Dwight Howard's here again! No, Paul Millsap is not in the league anymore. He had a great career, though. Dwight Howard is traded to the Charlotte Hornets. Dwight Howard just bounces around like a kid in a fucking bouncing castle. Some other moves. PJ Tucker goes to the Rockets. This leads to the small ball revolution. Anyone have a Sylvania game link? I'm watching some YouTube stream. Blake Griffin. So I want to talk about this. Blake Griffin signs a 5-year, $171 million contract extension with the Celtics. Now, I'm sorry, with the Clippers. Now, why does this matter? He gets traded 5 months into the season. Here, I'll just I don't really want to put this in here because I don't want you guys to leave my stream. But hey. Yes, they wined and dined him. They put his started branching out more with more NBA YouTube streamers, and most do not like Luka at all. Yeah, the honeymoon period is definitely over for Luka. But anyways, they wined and dined him. They put his jersey up in the rafters or whatever it was. Mr. Clipper. They trade him months into the season. Like not 2 years later. They trade him months into the season to Detroit. So, just a crazy thing. Otto Porter Jr., why is he in here? Because he signs a 4-year, $106 million contract. Crazy. Insane offseason. What did the Mavericks do? Oh, okay. Nothing. Mavericks did absolutely nothing that offseason. Now we get to the real juicy ones. These three are all juicy. 2014, LeBron James returns to the Cavaliers. if you weren't there to be a part of this, I honest to God feel bad. Because Kawhi and Paul George going to the Clippers sent similar shockwaves. But this was like, what the fuck just happened? But what made it so much better is there was like a small weird buildup where, no signs were pointing towards this, right? They had a strained relationship. LeBron did not leave Cleveland on good terms. He openly hated the owner. And there was nothing that pointed to, oh my God, LeBron might actually go back home. But then free agency started. And there was some hey, LeBron might leave the Heat rumblings. And then that kind of turned into, okay, this investigative journalism. People were tracking planes. People were tracking Dan Gilbert's plane. And we're noticing that he was weirdly ending up wherever Kyrie was. Or not Kyrie, sorry, LeBron. Then all of a sudden, some rumblings started coming out. Chris Broussard. Remember, this was when Chris Broussard's at the peak of his powers. Cleveland has replaced Miami as my front runner to land LeBron James. Everyone's like, what the fuck? So many of these down here. So many of these type of things popped up. Just texting with a friend who is directly tied in with LeBron in his camp, and he swears on his life the return to Cleveland is a done deal, per his sources. Calls have already been made to other current Cavaliers to spread the news. If this is true, and anything on the internet, take that with a grain of salt. Are you ready to get out your old jerseys and welcome LeBron home? So another conspiracy theory that ended up being true was, I remember this vividly. LeBron announced this on Sports Illustrated. He had an article written. Somebody oh my God, Luka just threw an insane pass. What the fuck? Sorry. Somebody, Jesus. So I can't even focus after that. Somebody went into the code of the Sports Illustrated website and found out they had a page that was private that had the Cleveland Cavaliers colors. And everyone deduced that meant that LeBron James was going back to Cleveland. There was people monitoring his Cleveland house. It was all insane. And of course, here's Mark Cuban in Cleveland. Here's Mark Cuban spotted in Cleveland. This was a thing. I think this was just for some Shark Tank thing. But pictures of Mark Cuban in Cleveland did surface, and it led to, as you can imagine, pandemonium. But of course, LeBron returned to Cleveland. Insane. I mean, it was. I remember exactly where I was. I was at a fucking restaurant eating at my favorite pizza place. And I literally go at the table, oh! And then they had an ESPN up and it popped up immediately. I was leaving the airport when this happened and everyone was huddling up into groups. I kid you not. Yeah, this was the most we haven't seen a move since then. I don't think the Paul George, Kawhi Leonard moves were quite this whoa. Little Caesars barely counts as a restaurant. Fuck you, CC's. I was just chilling at CC's Pizza. Of course, that wasn't all for Cleveland. They trade Andrew Wiggins, so they just drafted first overall. This was a big deal too, because Wiggins obviously didn't really pan out the way he was supposed to, but he was just the number one overall pick and was a year removed from the Maple Jordan nickname. It was kind of obvious in college that he wasn't really going to be as good as some people were expecting. But still, I mean, he was a great draft prospect. And the Cavs traded him for Kevin Love, who was a 2020 guy. Kevin Love was dominant in Minnesota. Was this Kevin Love's weight loss summer too? Yeah, I think so. I think he had his weight loss summer in Minnesota, actually. And all of that really overshadowed another gigantic move, which was Pau Gasol going to the Chicago Bulls. That was a big-time move too. Went to Chicago, was there for 2 years, was an all-star those 2 years. Fuck. This was a big move too at the time. Some other moves. Lance Stevenson goes to the Charlotte Hornets where he spends 1 full year. I think it was a 3-year, $30 million contract or something like that. Traded a year later. Hold the $5 donation. Funds for Slightly Biased favorite pizza, Little Caesars. Hey, that's hot and ready, baby. Are hot and ready still $5? Paul Pierce goes to the Wizards. This was after they're $6. Okay, this has gone on. Inflation's gone too far. Paul Pierce goes to the Wizards. This was after his disastrous year in Brooklyn. What did the Mavericks do this offseason? They signed Chandler Parsons to a 3-year, $46 million contract. Never played more than 66 games. Was only there for 2 years because I think the last year was a player option or a team option. I don't remember which one. They also brought in Richard Jefferson, Al-Farouq Aminu, Charlie Villanueva, and they traded for Tyson Chandler again. They also re-signed Dirk Nowitzki this year for 3 years, $25 million. So this was viewed as a pretty good offseason for the Mavericks at the time. Actually, really good. Like Chandler Parsons was an intriguing young player who was good and was pretty good with the Mavericks, just could never stay healthy, really. They got Tyson Chandler back. It was actually a pretty solid offseason for the Mavs. And they, of course, would go on to trade for Rajon Rondo during the season, which didn't go good for the Mavs. Next up, you might be shocked this is not number one, but it isn't. I think number one is pretty clearly number one. But the 2016 offseason, of course, Kevin Durant goes to the Golden State Warriors. This was like the most depressing news I think an NBA fan could have gotten. Like, it was over. Everyone correctly knew that it was done, you know? Like, everyone knew that this was going to fuck the league. Oh my God, Luka's actually going berserk. KD to Boston got some major heat. Yeah, KD to Boston got some major heat. We're going to look at a timeline here because, again, you don't see this anymore. The guy's a free agent and he's taking meetings with all these different teams. You don't really see it anymore, which is a shame because it was fun. It's a fun period. So here's every important Kevin Durant rumor. Why do we not start from the beginning? I don't know. Oh yeah, remember the Wizards were like openly trying to recruit him during the season. So Stephen A. Smith says Durant might sign with the Lakers. Durant calls him a liar. Durant says Wizards free agent courtship was disrespectful. February 2nd, the Warriors, yes, the 73-win Warriors are named as significant frontrunners to land Durant should he leave the Thunder. I remember when these rumors came out, nobody wanted to believe it. Spurs emerge as serious threat to sign Durant even before the Thunder take out the Spurs in the playoffs. The Thunder trade Serge Ibaka on draft night for Victor Oladipo, Ersan Ilyasova, and Domantas Sabonis. It's a risky move, but perhaps a move worth taking. No, it was a great move. Terrible fucking trade for the Magic. So this is when it was fun. When Durant's meeting with the Thunder, Warriors, Spurs, Clippers, Heat, and Celtics. The Wizards reportedly believe they are out of the running. Carmelo Anthony told ESPN that he is recruiting Durant for the Knicks and that the two have been talking. The Hawks actually have Durant aspirations, according to ESPN's Mark Stein. Durant plans on meeting with the Thunder one day before free agency begins. Durant will meet with the Warriors on Friday, July 1st, and the Spurs on Saturday, July 2nd. The Lakers will not be getting a meeting with Durant. So this is when the Lakers were down bad. Kawhi, LaMarcus Aldridge, and KD better than those Warriors. That team probably wins. Not better than that Warriors team, then, though, no. KD's meeting schedule. OKC Thursday. Warriors, Clippers Friday. Spurs, Celtics Saturday. Heat Sunday. Clippers are pitching a big four scenario to Durant that almost certainly will fare. A close friend tells the undefeated Mark Spears that KD's 90% returning to OKC. I remember all of these rumors. Al Horford. Oh, here we go. Al Horford followed Kevin Durant on Twitter, which a lot of people thought meant something, even though it probably definitely didn't. The Thunder met with Kevin Durant in Oklahoma City on Thursday afternoon and are in strong position for him to return, even as Durant has meetings on Friday. God, this was an uneasy ass time, dude. The Warriors met with Kevin Durant for over 2 hours on Friday. Steph Curry, Andre Iguodala, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, Steve Kerr, General Manager Bob Myers, and owner Joe Lacob were all present. Durant was blown away by the Clippers presentation, which lasted 4 hours. Now, is this the one where Steve Ballmer was crying? Was this the one where Steve Ballmer started crying? How would KD have looked if he stayed in OKC and never left? His approval rating would be sky high, yes. Actually, at his age now, he would have had to have won. Steve Ballmer crying, Kevin Durant. Like, was that when Clippers meeting with Kevin Durant was... Oh, yeah. Oh, this is a legendary tweet. Clippers meeting with Kevin Durant was intense, and at one point Steve Ballmer was crying, but everyone grew closer and a big lesson was learned. Oh, man. I forgot about this gem of a tweet. I'm going to retweet it. Oh, my God. Durant met with the Celtics for 4 hours. Tom Brady was a part of the pitch. Durant will make his decision within the next 24 to 36 hours. Durant told the Clippers he won't join them. Womp, womp, womp. Durant concludes his final meeting with the Thunder. Now we wait. Durant talked to Warriors executive board member Jerry West, who made a pitch for Golden State. Jerry West, man. Luka injured? Fuck. Wait, when? He's shooting free throws here. Around 3 minutes ago? Oh, on the clock? All right, hold on. I'm watching right now. Like, the stream I'm watching is like, the screen is so big. Okay, I still don't see anything. Okay, I still don't see anything. Okay, he just checked out of the game. But he wasn't like limping or anything. He just held something like a thigh. Looked in pain. Bro, did I just have to stop everything I was doing on the stream because Luka was holding his leg? That happens twice a game. All right, sorry guys. Durant will reportedly decide between Warriors and Thunder, and then on July 4th, Durant chose the Warriors. So there you go. A huge moment in the history of the NBA. Huge moment in the history of the NBA. No troll, it looks serious. I just watched it. I don't even see what... Like, I don't even see what could have possibly happened. Someone just said maybe a wrist or hand injury. I'm just going to continue my stream. Okay. This kind of overshadowed Al Horford going to the Celtics, which was a big deal at the time. Al Horford was probably the second best free agent available. Al Horford goes to Boston. So Boston made a huge pitch for KD, and they were in the running. But ultimately, they still get a really big fish in Al Horford. 4 years, $113 million, makes an all-star team, makes an all-defensive team. Derrick Rose gets traded to the Knicks, and of course, he had a hilarious quote where Derrick Rose says, Knicks called super team like Warriors. So Derrick Rose compared the New York Knicks to the Golden State Warriors. Obviously, that Knicks team flamed out in dramatic fashion. And there was that, sad video where Derrick Rose is pretty devastated that he gets traded. His whole career in Chicago, he was from Chicago. And injuries, man, just fucking sucks. Just sucks. Some other big moves. Oh, my God. Dwayne Wade leaves the Heat. This was shocking at the time. Dwayne Wade leaves the Heat and goes to Chicago, his hometown. Over a few $1 million, if memory serves correctly. They were at like a contract impasse of only a few $1 million. So that was a shocking moment. Rajon Rondo goes. This was a disgusting fucking team. In all the bad ways. In all of the bad ways, this was a disgusting team. Dwight Howard's on the move again, baby. He leaves the Rockets, goes to Atlanta, 3 years, $70 million. His hometown team. He spent 1 year in Atlanta. Dwight Howard I'm telling you, man, he's on the move a lot. Andre Drummond. Are you guys ready for this number? Andre Drummond signs a 5-year, $127 million contract with the Pistons to stay. Just a disgusting contract in a lot of different ways. But of course, this was the year of the cap spike. The cap went up from $70 million to $94 million in one offseason. A $24 million increase in the cap in one offseason, which made it possible for the Warriors. The Warriors, who are a team that were just coming off of the greatest regular season in NBA history, a team with a locked-in core that they've given money to, were able to just straight up sign Kevin Durant. Just straight up signed Kevin Durant. I'm about to read to you some of the contracts that were given out during this offseason because it's staggering, okay? Nick Batum re-signs with the Hornets. 5 years, $120 million for Nicholas Batum. J.R. Smith re-signs with Cleveland. 4 years, $57. That one makes a little bit more sense. I already talked about the Andre Drummond. Here we go. Ryan Anderson to the Rockets. 4 years, $80 million. Kent Bazemore. 4 years, $70 million for Kent Bazemore. Jeremy Lin, 3 years, $36 million, which it was kind of accepted at this point. Jeremy Lin was not great anymore. Al Jefferson, old Al Jefferson, 3 years, $30 million. John Lure, 4 years, $42 million. Tyler Johnson, 4 years, $50 million. Bismack Biyombo, 4 years, $72 million. Marvin Williams, 4 years, $54 million. Austin Rivers, 3 years, $35. Solomon Hill, 4 for $48. Alan Crabb, 4 years, $75 million. Wow. Jan Mahinmi, 4 years, $64. Evan Turner, 4 years, $75. Joakim Noah, 4 years, $72 million for the Knicks. And this was it was kind of accepted that he was not that great anymore. Matthew Dellavedova, 4 years, $38 million. Miles Plumlee, 4 years, $52 million. Luol Deng, 4 years, $72 million. Timothy Mozgov, 4 years, $64 million. And Chandler Parsons, who 2 years done with the Mavericks, he's injured all of the time. he somehow finagles his way to a 4-year, $94 million contract with the Memphis Grizzlies. I mean, this was insane stuff this offseason. And why did it happen? Because the cap jumped $24 million in one summer. So every team had money to spend. Every team had money to spend. And there was a lot of free agents. So it led to this just bad shit insane offseason. What did the Mavericks do? This is the year they brought in Harrison Barnes. So since the Warriors went out and got Kevin Durant, Harrison Barnes was like, go pretty much. The Mavericks give him 4 years, $94 million. He does not finish out the contract with the Mavericks. But, he was decent. He was decent. A good guy, great in the community, and he was pretty good as a player. Should have never been the number one option, but whatever. Dirk gets 2 years, $50 million. So this is also around the time where we are starting to pay back Dirk for his years of taking pay cuts. Yes, infamously gets traded mid-game. And this gets us to number 1. 2019. This offseason was batshit insane. Absolutely nuts. And it's funny because I was going through each and every team. Teams either made some huge, gigantic move or did nothing. Like, there was, really no in between. There was not a lot of, along the margin moves. Didn't Barnes say he knew he was going to get traded? Yeah, so the Mavericks told Harrison Barnes before the game that he was probably going to get traded, and he said he wanted to play anyway. So it makes it better, but still some embarrassing optics. So obviously, the big story here is Kawhi Leonard and Paul George going to the Los Angeles Clippers. And this, whenever I tell you, this was like a fucking earthquake. This was... I remember exactly where I was. The Paul George trade was announced at 2 a.m. I was not eating pizza this time. I was laying down, and I was actually awake. I was staying at my dad's house. We were sleeping on an air mattress, I believe. And I go, what the fuck? I'm in my room absolutely shocked and bewildered because I did not think it was even remotely possible for the Clippers to pull this off. Steve Ballmer was pissing me off and annoying me. I hated the Clippers at this time just because Steve Ballmer was so fucking annoying to me. I did not want this to happen, and it did, and I was shocked. This was, just nuts. Here's another time. I love these timeline articles. Okay, so Kawhi Leonard gets traded, yada, yada, yada. I want to get to Kawhi Leonard and Tobias Harris are expected to consider Brooklyn Nets in free agency. So I never believed any of these because I truthfully believed Kawhi when he said that he did not care about his free agency until it came. I'm not even thinking about signing or what team I'm going to go to. Kawhi said June 7th. Of course, the Raptors win the NBA Finals. The Lakers have a plan for Kawhi even after trading for Anthony Davis. Latest odds speak to where some believe Kawhi will end up. Raptors are minus 110, Clippers plus 120. So I remember when these odds were coming out, everyone was like, whoa, what? Kawhi Leonard set to meet with Lakers and Clippers right when free agency begins. Kawhi was talking with the Lakers, but it never sounded like he was actually that interested. Kawhi Leonard only wanted to speak with Magic Johnson and Jeannie Buss. That's it. But the big thing was the Clippers were able to figure out how to get Paul George. Clippers trade for Paul George and they get Kawhi Leonard to sign and join LA. Will this tell me what time it was when this happened? I want to see if there's like a tweet. That way I can click on it and truthfully show you guys that it was like, truthfully, it was like 2 o'clock in the morning. Hey, Sally, I had to put my cat down this morning and your stream has really helped me cheer me up. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Micah. That's super fucking sad, dude. Your cat will live on in your memory forever. No cat ever deserves to die. Beautiful creatures. Sorry to hear that. Oh, we didn't even talk about the Paul George trade. Okay, so Kawhi Leonard goes to the Clippers as a free agent. They trade for Paul George, and of course, it is infamously one of the most insane trade hauls ever. Danilo Gallinari, right, who actually was good for the Thunder that 1 year. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and 5 first-round picks that are still playing themselves out. I mean, just absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. The Clippers, they came up big time. And like they weren't even the only duo to pair up in free agency this year. Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving also pair up on another team. This offseason was fucking nuts. Like, Kevin Durant, one of the greatest players of all time. Kyrie Irving, one of the best point guards of all time. They team up on a team together, and it's probably the second biggest move. It's probably the second most insane move that happened. That's how crazy this offseason was. Of course, the Kevin Durant move was a sign and trade. D'Angelo Russell goes to the Warriors, where it doesn't really pan out there for him. Kyrie Irving just straight up signs with the team. And this was crazy too. The Knicks, this was the offseason. Somebody mentioned it earlier. This was the offseason where it was the Zion, Kyrie, Kevin Durant to the Knicks offseason. It was there. It was there for the taking. It was written in the stars. We all kind of knew Kyrie and Kevin Durant wanted to play together. It was supposed to happen. And they fumbled it. And they go to Brooklyn, where they don't even make an Eastern Conference Finals in their tenure together. Although the year the Bucks won the finals, they more than likely would have if they were healthy. But this was absolutely insane. Anthony Davis gets traded to the Lakers. They go on to win the NBA Finals the next season. That's the third biggest move. Anthony Davis, in his prime, getting traded to the Lakers. Lonzo Ball, Brandon Ingram, Josh Hart, 3 first-round picks, including the 4th overall pick that year, which the Pelicans traded to the Hawks, I think, and then drafted Jackson Hayes. So kind of a bust there. But still an insane trade haul for the Pelicans. And for the Lakers, I mean, it pays off. You got a championship. AD is now on his second contract, or just agreed to a second contract with the Lakers. So a huge move there. Then, Russell Westbrook, who at this point in his career had been with the Thunder, obviously, his whole career, gets traded to the Rockets. For Chris Paul and, this is true, 4 picks. And if memory serves me correctly, I'm pretty sure the Thunder have this upcoming Rockets pick from this trade. Like, it's a top 5 protected pick, top 4 protected pick next draft that the Thunder have from the Rockets. And it's from this move, I think. So, absolutely insane. This was a huge deal at the time. Obviously, didn't pan out. Russ only spends 1 year, right? Yeah, Russ spends 1 year with the Rockets. Huge fleecing. Huge fleecing. And also, remember, at this time, Chris Paul was on the Rockets, but was deemed like an overpaid, bad contract, and like kind of a negative trade asset. Another big move. Oh, yeah, that's right. Jimmy Butler goes to the Heat. Like, what is this offseason? Absolutely insane. Jimmy Butler, after just 1 year with the 76ers, the Sixers looked like the Sixers were unbeatable in 2K. I've talked about this before. With Jimmy, Ben Simmons, and Joel Embiid, that team was unstoppable in 2K. But Jimmy, after just a year with the Sixers, leaves and goes to Miami. The infamous, y'all chose Tobias Harris over me. Jeez. Absolutely crazy. What other big moves happened? Kemba Walker goes to the Celtics. Like, this was a big deal at the time. This was a big move at the time. Kemba Walker spent his whole career with Charlotte. Obviously, his knees were cooked. But he had some decent years with them. I think he made at least one All-Star game with them. At least. Terry Rozier gets a big contract in a sign and trade. Yeah, he did make the... He averaged 20 his first season with them, but only played 56 games. Oh, I guess that was the shortened season. But then was injured afterwards. Another almost Maverick. Yes, the Mavericks were heavily tied to Kemba Walker during this offseason. And of course, they didn't get him. But they always get their guy. They always get their guy. They signed him last season, and he plays 9 games, including one insane 30-point performance against the Cavaliers, which was pretty much the last moment of his NBA career, unfortunately. His knees were just wrecked. Another big move. Al Horford goes to the Philadelphia 76ers. So this was insane. This was insane. Al Horford leaves the Celtics, goes to the rival. And the Sixers made this move because they were tired of Al Horford absolutely bodying Joel Embiid. This was 100% a troll move. Al Horford spends 1 year there. It is a horrendous fit. I can't even say he was terrible. It was just a horrendous fit next to Embiid, next to Ben Simmons. It was disgusting to watch. He only spends a year there before getting jettisoned to the Thunder. And Sixers fans still hate his guts to this day, and he's still a Joel Embiid stopper. Luka just tweaked his left knee, fouling Santi Aldama on a three-point try. Luka is limping but staying on the game. Luka just spun baseline. All right. Hey. Luka's done with international basketball this year, man. It's done. Luka did dunk after hurting his knee, apparently. But he's done. If I'm the Mavericks, I'm calling in. I'm saying he's out. Like, I'm legitimately calling in and saying it's over for him. So I wasn't tripping. He was playing hurt. He's done. He's done. It does look like he's holding his thigh or something like that. Joyce Randle goes to the Knicks this offseason. This was a big signing. $20 million. Wins most improved player. Makes 2 All-Star games so far with them. Any other big moves? Mike Conley goes to the Jazz after spending his whole career with Memphis. This was a big deal as well. Like, this was... The Jazz were like serious contenders after this. People thought that they were like legit championship level team. Any other big moves? Malcolm Brogdon goes to the Pacers. In a sign and trade, what did the Mavericks do? They gave Kristaps Porzingis a maximum contract extension. That's true. They were the 1 seed, so they were good. They maxed out Kristaps Porzingis with no injury provisions. I was pissed off about that at the time. And Dirk Nowitzki retired. Finished. Thank you, guys. That was a fun one. That offseason was crazy, man. What do you guys think was more crazy, 2016 or 2019? Because I can see the argument for 16, because Kevin Durant and then all of the crazy contracts that went out. But 2019 just had so much insane movement. Like, KD and Kyrie teaming up was the second biggest move. AD getting traded was the third biggest move. Jimmy Butler signing with the Heat was like the fourth or fifth biggest move. Russell Westbrook as a career Thunder getting traded. I still like LeBron going back to Cleveland is my all-time favorite off-season transaction. Like I just it was just an insane moment. Two 2019 was peak super team shit. That was the super duos. That was when super duos were forming. And I think that's kind of still where we're at. Like, super teams are just becoming harder and harder to build. Anyways, thank you guys for tuning in. 10,000 subscribers. Honestly thought it would feel a little bit better, but I think part of it is I think part of it is I had been waiting for 10,000 for so long that it just is like, okay, it happened finally. You know what I mean? Like, I'd been waiting. It's going to be like whenever I turn 30. Like, I'd been waiting for so long, and then it happens, and it's like, okay, it happened. $100,000 next. Yes, sir. That will happen. Oh, God. Did I have this on my shirt the whole time? All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming out. When can we see the best team using all players that have played for a franchise bracket stream? That might be Monday. I'm trying to decide if I want to do like a 10,000 subscriber special stream. I'm not gonna lie, I don't really want to. Like a best of moments, but I don't really like doing that. But the next bracket stream we do is going to be that. Pizza crumbs? No, unfortunately not. I don't know the last time I had pizza. What happened to Luka? I don't know. He went to the locker room. It was after he dunked, so. Anyways, thank you guys so much for coming out. Oh, he's back in the game. Dude. Dude, get him out of the fucking game! All right. All of the OGs, you guys know I love you very much. Could have spent your Friday afternoon anywhere in the world. You decided to spend it here. New subscribers, I promise you guys will not regret it. Getting closer and closer to the season. Content will start ramping up. It's going to be a little sporadic for the time being just because there's nothing going on. Donations, members, thank you guys so much. You never have to do that, but it helps me out tremendously and it makes me feel so good. Love you guys. Enjoy your weekend. I will probably be live on Monday. And I would like to have a video up this weekend, but I don't know. I'm working on like several videos at once, and I'm 99% certain I have ADHD, and that has overwhelmed me tremendously. So I just need to focus on one. All right, love you guys. You guys enjoy your weekend. Be safe. Talk to you guys later. Stay hydrated. That's a good one. Bye-bye.